Hey everybody, just riding to work this morning and thought I'd make a quick video, kind of, as sure you did, if one of my friends. I think most all of us probably watched at least some of the presidential debate last night. Call it debate in air quotes, but I kind of turned it off about halfway through. Now I'll get into why in just a second, but I got up this morning, I was looking, I noticed there's a lot of people that were, understandably upset by the way that debate went down, whether it was how you thought Biden did, which, if you're upset about how Biden, participated in the debate, I think that's kind of stupid. Biden did exactly what everybody thought Biden would do. He made a lot of outlandish claims. He stumbled a lot, refused to answer questions. I mean, there's nothing particularly exciting there. I think some people were a little upset with Chris Wallace, who, understandably, for both candidates, I'll go as far as for Biden. He physically would not let people answer a question. I'll say both ways. He physically would not let either candidate answer either accusations that were made against him. Several times he asked a direct question, it started being answered, he cut him off. It's worth pointing out that Chris Wallace was definitely a never Trumper in 2016. I don't know how he feels now. Maybe may not be anymore. I don't know the guy. And then Trump, there's a lot of people that are irritated with him. I'll be honest with you, I'm a Trump supporter, pretty irritated with him. Actually, the point where it wasn't very late into the debate, where I just finally cut the thing off, was the exchange about white supremacy. So there was a lot wrong with what happened there. The way the question was posed, the way it was handled. So let me just talk about that real quick. So the question that was posed was not simply, do you denounce white supremacy? The question was, do you denounce white supremacy? And then Chris Wallace went on to imply that the Proud Boys and every militia in the United States is a white supremacy group. So that was very disingenuous, and kind of shows you where the mainstream media, even somebody that's claimed to be kind of right-leaning like Fox, where their heads are, which is a huge problem. So the Proud Boys and most militias both, to try to compare that to the Ku Klux Klan or Aryan Nation, I've never seen a black person in the KKK or in the Aryan Nation. That was such a disingenuous question. So the second part of that is the fact that Trump couldn't immediately handle that question to say, of course I denounce white supremacy. I denounce any type of racial supremacy. And to go on and say, but to try to lump the Proud Boys or militia in with that group, could have cited several examples. You should have said, Chris, are you saying the NFAC is a white supremacy group? They're a militia in America, right? So, that whole question was way out. Not to mention that Joe was bumbling, trying to get in the middle of that, and he constantly said dog whistle. I'm so sick of hearing that word. It's ridiculous. The dog whistle shit, and him saying Antifa was an idea. That's another question. A debate back and forth that I was really displeased that Trump didn't handle better. To say Antifa's an idea is outlandish. It's like something CNN would say months ago. They don't even say it anymore. You can't say something's an idea if you've arrested 500 to 1,000 members of this idea. That doesn't work. It's not a genuine thought. But so I guess what I'm left with is the takeaway that whether you're a Trump supporter or Biden supporter, or you don't care, wherever you stand at, it doesn't matter. If you didn't leave from that whole exchange last night wondering, what are we doing here? How could we vote for either one of these people? Just based on that one debate, and I've still got my opinion about Trump and Biden both. But based on that one debate, if you didn't leave that debate feeling like a moron for supporting either candidate, I don't know what to tell you. It was outlandish. And the whole thing was absolutely outlandish. From the moderating to the answers. I mean, there was so much stuff Joe said that was, blatant regurgitation of mainstream media lies. And I guess that's what he's playing to. He's playing his base, right? People that, watch CNN and MSNBC 24 hours a day, and their whole world revolves around what Rachel Maddow says. So I get that, but I also don't think he can carry. I can't honestly believe that he thinks he can carry an election with that amount of people. I can't believe there's 50+% of the country sitting around watching Rachel Maddow and Don Lemon all day. These are outliers. These are the Alex Jones of the left, right? And should have even said Alex Jones. He actually comes up with a lot of truth accidentally. So, but you understand what I'm saying? I don't know. It's pretty sickening. Even when I turned the debate off last night, kind of started laying down for bed, I gotta tell you, my mind was racing, and it was racing to the point of, how do we even start to come out of this? Because really what we saw last night, we saw the kind of the worst parts of both sides of this equation. And it's hard to say both sides. There's so many sides politically now. Who knows where they fit in. To say the right and the left is, it's just almost, it's just ridiculous to use right and left. There's 20 different positions you could have out there, and nobody agrees with anybody else. Nobody's willing to admit that they agree with the other side on certain issues. It's ridiculous. And anytime somebody's not in your political count decides they like something, you've got to automatically be against it, and vice versa. So how do you come back from a divide like that? I guess that's why I got so upset last night. Like I said, I wasn't necessarily upset with the people or the players. I mean, at this point, I was upset. If I'm upset with anybody, it was President Trump last night. I was really upset with the way he did not handle a lot of the questions that he could have really taken Joe Biden and Chris Wallace to task on, and he really bumbled them. I mean, he did. And if you say he didn't, I'm sorry. You're being a blind supporter, and you're not looking at this from an unbiased viewpoint, or even I can't even look at it from an unbiased viewpoint, right? Because I'm a supporter but try to step back and look. Like, some of these things were ridiculous the way these questions were handled. I expected better, honestly. I really expected better out of him. And of course, I was pretty tore up with the moderator, Chris Wallace. Just the inability to moderate at all, the inability to allow people to answer questions. And there's a whole lot of people that talk about how archaic, mainstream media format is, where you've got this limited time to answer a question. Well, for both sides of this equation, Chris Wallace asked a question, and the original person to answer levies 20 charges against the other candidate. How could you possibly answer that in 2 minutes? I mean, that's the farce of it, right? So you never really get a debate or answer. All you get is all these charges levied against the other person. They get to maybe start to answer one of them before they get cut off. Then it devolves into a pissing contest. And that was pretty much the ebb and flow of everything I saw. Maybe something got better after I turned it off. I highly doubt it. It was definitely not headed anywhere better when I turned it off. And by the comments I see this morning on things, it does not appear that it got better. And then the next part of that equation was, obviously I was following this I was kind of reading through Facebook while the debate was going on. Just the outlandish comments from, it's crazy that society, we as people, were literally mimicking what was happening on that stage. So It's just unbelievable to me. Not only was that craziness going on that TV screen, it was going on between us on social media. And if you go read comments and posts and everything else, they're very similar to exactly what these two people were saying to each other. So it's like the whole system has devolved into, I don't know, some type of retardation or something. I don't understand it. It's like we've fucking decided to shave 60 points off everybody's IQ. Nobody's got any reasoning skills about this. Nobody's willing to admit when their candidate's wrong. Nobody's willing to admit when the other side's right. Nobody's willing to find any common ground, say we can agree on this. I mean, this is unbelievable. And for those of you that are out there begging for a Joe Biden win so that, you know, Republicans are shutting their house for the next 2 to 3 years while we get through this supposed pandemic, or those of y'all that feel the opposite way, that want Trump to win only so other people suffer, like, you're just inviting the devil in. And I don't mean the devil, a physical being from the Bible. I'm talking about the devil in society, right? So if you want to think about where this ends up after you saw what happened last night, so how do you heal a divide like that, okay? This is like you've got a cut on your arm and these 8 stitches, and you just keep pulling the fucking skin open, thinking that somehow this is going to heal. Like, it's not going to heal, okay? That kind of continued thing, and the people that say, especially, my God, I hate to say left to right, but I don't even know what else to use. For the people on the left that pretend they want some kind of civil war, you know, to remake society, I think you people are out of your fucking minds. Out of your fucking minds. Like, I'll say in general, the left is, I'll speak for white people, I don't know every race, okay? In the white community, the left is the softer people, the people that are not prone to any type of violence, would never be involved in it, have literally voted for the past 50 to 60 years to disarm themselves and the entire population. You're not ready for that. And the people on the right that think you're ready for a civil war because you have guns and because you might think you're prone to violence in some way, I would say 90+% of you don't know anything about violence, first off. You've probably never been in a decent fist fight in your life. And to assume that you want some type of civil war where we go around taking people's lives, and let's talk about taking a person's life, and take all that person is, all that person has, and all that person ever will be. And you assume that you're prepared to do that and sleep on it at night? Insanity. Insanity. Well, I said, not only are, I'm sure most of you are watching this, you don't understand violence. You don't understand hurting somebody. Not to a degree that matters. Maybe you've been in a fist fight as a kid or something. I would seriously doubt that most anybody has been in a physical, and I'm not saying nobody, okay? I recognize this about myself, obviously, but most of you never been in any type of physical altercation. And so to assume that either side wants this civil war and this is what's coming and we're going to keep saying that so we can prophesy it into existence. Man, look, I'm not saying don't be prepared, but when you're inviting something like that into society, or you're hoping something like that comes, or you keep talking about it like you want it, it's a bad place to be. It's a bad place to be, and I seriously question if the majority of people who talk all this have really thought about what it means. Not just to hurt somebody, okay? So let's say you have had plenty of fights as an adult, and you've hurt somebody. Hurting people is one thing. They get over it. They go to a hospital, they get their life back, whatever. They're talking about killing people, okay? And keep in mind, if you're on the, once again, right, in air quotes. You're not talking about going out and killing men, okay? You're not talking about men against men, because if you look predominantly what's on the left, you're talking about women and children. And there are some men there, but what you see out in the streets rioting are not full-grown men. The people who want to come out and take action are juveniles. They're not developed. They're, if we look at any of these BLM protests or Antifa or anything, you're not looking at the adults of society. The people that want to come out and riot that you're talking about going to war with, these are children, for the most part. They're children. So how do you feel about, going out and doing something like this, and you're talking about a civil war, so you're going to take your rifle and go out and actively seek this out and kill 30 or 40 kids a night. And I'm not saying anybody thinks they're going to do that. I'm saying you haven't thought about this enough to understand that's what you're talking about. I think predominantly on the left and the right, you got some men that talk a lot of shit that are not prepared to pull that trigger. And whether that be a weapon or just hands, the large majority of society is not willing to partake in that anymore. It's sad. I don't like it, right? I think society would be a lot better if we all were a little more prone to violence within a reasonable window, right? And that means we could fist fight without pulling a pistol out. It doesn't work like that anymore, though, unfortunately. I won't say it doesn't work like that. That's a lie. But I don't know. It's just all this is outlandish to me. That debate last night just really put the icing on the cake about kind of, and not just the debate itself, the debate and the buzz that was going on around the debate, such as social media posts, conversations that were being had. And there's very few people out there who are willing to say, hey, my candidate didn't do so well, I wasn't proud of what he did here. And if you're on either side of this, like I say, whether you're for Biden or Trump, and you can't look at this and say, I'm embarrassed by what my particular candidate did last night, then you got problems. You got real problems. And if anybody out there is saying mainstream media is truthful or honest, or Fox News is, Chris Wallace in particular, is in support of Donald Trump, you're out of your mind. Absolutely out of your fucking mind. And I wouldn't say it was for Biden either. I would just say mainstream media is they're so used to lying about everything, and making disingenuous remarks that they've outdated themselves. That's why a lot of people don't watch news anymore. So me particularly, I don't watch a lot of cable news. I only say I don't watch a lot. I don't watch any really, because of what we saw last night. The just complete disingenuous nature of the mainstream media, and then the way that debate was ran. Like I say, how do you answer? I'll say this for Biden or Trump, okay, to make this fair. So when somebody levies, in 2 minutes, I can make a lot of accusations against a person, right? So try me. One of y'all, try me. In 2 minutes, I can levy a world of accusations against you. Then how many of those can you really put to bed in 2 minutes? Well, very few, because it takes minutes to get through one thing. The fact that this is the way we debate, and somebody thinks this is the way, and I understand we're not going to decide who the president is off of this. Whoever watched those debates last night, you got your mind made up. You've already made your mind up a long time ago. For me, the debates are just kind of, I don't know. I was really just expecting better. At this point, I understand it's just entertainment ratings now, okay? So it's a way to pull in more money and more advertisement bucks and all that. I didn't see anything of substance come out of that. Unbelievable. Anyway, I'll just leave you with this. It's shitty. It's sad to see what's happening there. Sad to see what's happening in our country. It's sad to watch that on television or YouTube, wherever you're watching it at. It's sad to watch that and the debacle that is, and then realize that it's actually playing out in society. If you're watching in real time, because, I don't really go off of, Twitter's not a good place to look at things. Like, Twitter's such a fucking shit show. Like, you got the worst of the worst opinions and people on there, so it's hard to go off that. But on Facebook, you kind of got regular people for the most part, right? And literally, Facebook just mimicked exactly what was going on in debate. It was literally mimicking it. So I guess that's the embarrassment of it, right? It's not so embarrassing that we see, these two people on TV that are acting like buffoons. It's the fact that we are so entrenched in it that we also decide to act like buffoons and mimic what we see there. And at the same time, on both sides of the aisle, people are welcoming some kind of divide or war or whatever you want to call it. And nobody's ready for that. And I'm not saying you're not ready for that, like you're going to get your ass beat. I'm saying we're not ready for that. Nobody wants that here. Nobody wants the U.S. to look like Afghanistan. Nobody wants this to look like Berlin during World War II, because, that's essentially what you're talking about. And then you're inviting hell into your home. And then regardless of who wins, and we could sit here and debate on that all the time. It'd be like debating on a fight, right? You never know who's going to win. You don't know how the players are going to play out. So if you think your side's just a shoe-in for everything, you're fucking stupid about that too. When I say we're not ready, though, I mean you're not ready to see that death and destruction. And let's think about afterwards. So let's say your side was really badass and you bagged 1,000 fucking commies or white supremacists or whoever your fucking enemy is. So what happens when this gets finished in 10, 15 years? What are you leaving for your kids? A generation that knows nothing but war and killing their country people? And how do you live the rest of your life out? So you're talking about, let's say it lasts 20 years, and that'd take me right up to fucking retirement age. So let's say I get involved with that and I kill all these people, and how do my last years look if I make it through it? So I sleep every night knowing I've killed children and mothers, and unbelievable. Think about things before you say them. And you can say, well, the people are forcing me into a civil war. Nobody's forcing anybody into anything. We are choosing to take sides and take on opinions that push us more towards that. We choose to do that, whether you like it or not. I'm even speaking for myself. We choose to do that. I don't know. It's hard to see how we stop those choices at this point. It's almost like those choices have been made. And were made generations before us. If I look at boomers right now, I won't even start to place this on, Generation Z or millennials. Absolutely, boomers have voted us into this. They've raised their children into this. They've voted us into this. This is what you are seeing now is a system that has been voted on and created over the past 40 years. I want Generation Z, they're so young right now. If you think they're causing problems, you're a moron about that. They've been alive long enough to make change to the system. Millennials may be their own worst enemy because they do the things that people accuse them of. Then we got, people like me or Generation Xers kind of, I don't know what the fuck we are, some kind of hybrid shit. The point is, it's not something that grew over the past 4 years. This is something that's 40, 50 years in the making. And to be honest, I could probably go all the way back to FDR, where my opinion is this shit actually started at. That's a conversation for another time, though. I just say to y'all today, just think about what you're saying. Think about what you're putting out there. Think about who you're mimicking. I'm preaching myself, too. I'm not guilty of the same things that I'm preaching against. Think about it. Think about what your rhetoric could bring on. Think about what you're committing yourself to. Think about what it means when you commit yourself to something like a war or something physical. Really think about that. Think about what that means. Think about what that means for your future, your kids' future, future of the country. Think about that. Anyway, we'll get to work. Y'all have a good day.